Hey everyone, and welcome to LaunchGuard. If you're researching a new Amazon FBA product, you've probably already done some basic calculations. You know the selling price, you have a supplier quote, and you may have checked the Amazon fees. But the real question is, once you include freight, duties, advertising, returns, launch expenses, and the money needed for your first reorder, is the product still worth launching? That's exactly what LaunchGuard is designed to help you figure out. In this video, I'll take you through the complete app, show you what every section does, and explain how LaunchGuard turns your assumptions into a clear go, caution, or stop decision. Let's get started. LaunchGuard is a standalone HTML application. That simply means there's nothing to install. You open the LaunchGuard file in a modern browser, such as Chrome, Edge, Firefox, or Safari, and the app is ready to use. You don't need to create an account, log in, or pay for a subscription. The app also works offline once you have downloaded it. Your projects are stored locally inside your browser. LaunchGuard doesn't connect to your Amazon Seller Central account, and it doesn't upload your product information anywhere. All the numbers are entered manually. This is intentional because it lets you decide exactly which figures and sources you want to use. You can enter information from your supplier quotation, Amazon revenue calculator, freight forwarder, advertising reports, or your own product research. Because the projects are saved in your browser, I recommend using the same browser every time you open the app. Avoid private or incognito mode because private browsing may remove the saved information when the window is closed. It's also a good idea to download a backup regularly, and I'll show you how to do that later. When you first open LaunchGuard, you'll arrive on the overview page. At the top, you can switch between different product projects. This is useful if you're researching several ideas at the same time. Select Manage Products to create a new project. Enter the product name and, if you have one, the SKU. Then choose the Amazon Marketplace and the project currency. LaunchGuard supports Amazon US, UK, Germany, Canada, and Australia, as well as other Amazon marketplaces. The available currencies are US dollars, British pounds, euros, Canadian dollars, and Australian dollars. Inside Manage Products, you can also duplicate an existing project. This is useful when you want to test two versions of the same product. For example, you could duplicate the project and compare two suppliers, two selling prices, or two different order quantities without changing your original calculation. At the top of the app, you'll also find the language selector. LaunchGuard is available in English, German, Spanish, French, and Italian. Next to that is the Theme button, which lets you switch between the light and dark interface. You'll also see quick buttons for backing up all your projects and exporting the active report. Now let's look at the overview. This is where you can perform a quick launch check without completing every detailed section of the app. If you're opening LaunchGuard for the first time, you can select Load Sample Product. This fills the app with an example product so you can explore the interface and see how the calculations react. Once you understand the workflow, replace the example values with your own information. Start by entering the product name and expected selling price. Next, add the supplier unit cost and your first order quantity. Enter the total freight and import cost for the entire order, followed by the FBA fee per unit and the referral fee percentage. The FBA and referral fees should come from the current Amazon revenue calculator for your product and marketplace. After that, enter your expected monthly sales. For advertising, add the average cost per click, expected advertising conversion rate, and the percentage of total sales you expect to receive from ads. Finally, you can add a simple launch budget. This field is useful when you have a rough total for your launch expenses, but don't want to separate every cost yet. If you want a more detailed launch budget, there's a complete section for that later in the app. As you enter the numbers, LaunchGuard updates the results automatically. You don't need to press a calculate button. The first result is your estimated net profit per unit. This is the amount remaining after the landed product cost, Amazon fees, blended advertising cost, and expected return reserve have been deducted. Next is the net margin, which shows the estimated profit as a percentage of the collected selling price. Starting capital shows the estimated amount required to fund the inventory, launch expenses, and contingency reserve. Maximum Save CPC estimates how much you can afford to pay for an advertising click while still protecting your selected target margin. On the right side of the interface, you'll find the live project summary. This remains visible as you move through the different sections. It shows your current net profit, net margin, ROI, starting capital, and break-even ACoS. There's also a project readiness indicator. This helps you see whether the essential information has been completed. The next action card points you toward the part of the project that needs attention next. Back on the overview page, you'll also find the Live Sensitivity Lab. This is one of the quickest ways to see how sensitive your product is to changing conditions. You can move the sliders for selling price, supplier cost, average CPC, monthly sales, and advertising conversion rate. Try reducing the selling price slightly or increasing the supplier cost. You'll immediately see what happens to the profit, margin, and final verdict. You can also test a higher CPC or a lower conversion rate. This is helpful because a product shouldn't only work under perfect conditions. If a very small increase in advertising costs destroys the margin, that's something you want to discover before ordering inventory. The next section is landed cost. This is where we build a more complete estimate of what each sellable unit actually costs. Start with the supplier unit cost and order quantity. Then add the packaging cost, labels or inserts, and any preparation fees charged per unit. You can also include an expected defect percentage. This is important because you may pay for the production and shipping of a defective unit even though that unit can't be sold. LaunchGuard uses the defect percentage to estimate how many sellable units remain from the original order. Next, enter the logistics expenses. These include international freight, freight insurance, duty or tariffs, customs and broker costs, inspection expenses, and any other import charges. LaunchGuard then calculates the value of the goods, estimated sellable units, total inventory cash, and landed cost per sellable unit. The landed cost per sellable unit is one of the most important numbers in the entire model. If you divide your total costs by the original order quantity without accounting for defects and additional expenses, the product can appear cheaper than it really is. Now let's move to Amazon costs. Start by checking the project currency and selling price. If you expect to use coupons or promotions, enter the average discount. If VAT is included in the customer price, select yes and enter the VAT rate. LaunchGuard will reserve the VAT amount instead of treating the full selling price as available revenue. Next, enter the Amazon deductions. These include the referral fee, FBA fulfillment fee, inbound placement cost, storage reserve, and the professional selling plan cost allocated per unit. There's also a field for any other Amazon cost you want to include. LaunchGuard doesn't use hidden fee presets because Amazon fees can vary by marketplace, category, product dimensions, and fulfillment conditions. You remain in control of every number. The results show the collected price after the expected discount, the VAT reserve, Amazon fees per unit, and the estimated contribution before advertising. Next, we have PPC and returns. This section connects advertising performance directly to the product economics. Enter the average cost per click and the expected advertising conversion rate. Then enter the percentage of your total sales expected to come from advertising. For example, if you expect some sales to be organic, you don't want to apply the full advertising cost to every unit. LaunchGuard calculates a blended PPC cost based on the share of sales attributed to ads. You can also enter your target net margin. This is the margin you would like to protect when LaunchGuard calculates your advertising limits. On the other side of this section is the return reserve. Enter the expected return rate and the percentage of returned units that can be sold again. Then include any processing cost, return shipping, and other unrecovered expenses associated with a return. LaunchGuard uses this information to estimate the expected return loss across all orders instead of assuming that every sale remains permanent revenue. The results include advertising cost per advertised order, blended PPC per total unit, break-even ACoS, and maximum CPC at your target margin. Break-even ACoS estimates the advertising percentage where an advertised order reaches break-even. Maximum CPC at target gives you a more protective limit based on the net margin you selected. These are useful guardrails when planning a campaign or checking whether your current advertising assumptions are realistic. The next section is the launch budget. This is where you can itemize the one-time expenses required to prepare the product for sale. You can enter the cost of samples, tooling or molds, product testing, photography, listing design, video, and copywriting. There are also fields for trademarks or brand expenses, vine or promotional costs, a launch advertising reserve, and other fixed launch costs. At the end, add a contingency percentage. The contingency reserve gives you some protection against unexpected expenses or changes in the original quotations. LaunchGuard combines the inventory cash, fixed launch expenses, and contingency to calculate the estimated total starting capital. This gives you a much more realistic funding target than simply multiplying the supplier cost by the order quantity. Now let's open inventory and cash. This section focuses on the first reorder. A product can have a good margin and still create a cash flow problem if the supplier deposit for the next order is due before enough money has returned from Amazon. Start by entering the expected monthly sales and the number of safety stock days you want to maintain. Then select the number of months the next purchase order should cover and enter the supplier deposit percentage. Under lead time, enter the number of days required for production, freight transit, customs, and Amazon check-in. LaunchGuard uses these assumptions to estimate your inventory coverage and recommended reorder date. It also suggests the quantity for the next purchase order and estimates the potential cash gap. The cash gap compares the supplier deposit required for that reorder with the estimated cash returned by that point. This isn't a guarantee of your exact future cash position, but it gives you an early warning if the reorder may require additional funding. Next, we come to scenarios and verdict. This is where LaunchGuard brings the entire product model together. The app automatically creates conservative, expected, and optimistic scenarios. These scenarios show how the product may perform when price, sales, CPC, conversion, and returns move away from your original expectations. LaunchGuard then produces a launch score and one of three possible verdicts. A go verdict means the main targets are met and the conservative scenario remains profitable. A caution verdict means the expected case can work, but one or more important assumptions need attention. A stop verdict means the expected or conservative model shows a material loss or launch risk. The verdict isn't a promise that a product will succeed or fail. It's a structured interpretation of the assumptions you entered. Below the scenario comparison, LaunchGuard creates an action plan. This explains which areas may need improvement before you place the order. Depending on the project, it may recommend reviewing the selling price, supplier cost, advertising performance, target margin, launch budget, or reorder cash requirement. You can also open the advanced scenario settings. Here, you can edit the conservative and optimistic multipliers for price, sales, CPC, conversion, and returns. This lets you create a stress test that better reflects your category and your own level of risk tolerance. If a product only makes sense in the optimistic scenario, it probably isn't ready yet. You can return to the relevant section, change the assumptions, and immediately see how the decision reacts. The final part of the app is export and backup. Select Print or Save PDF to create a clean decision report. The report includes the verdict, key financial results, scenario comparison, and recommended actions. When the browser print window opens, choose Save as PDF if you want a digital copy. You can also download the active project data as a CSV file. The CSV can be opened in Excel or uploaded to Google Sheets for additional analysis or record keeping. Backup All Projects downloads a JSON backup containing every project, input and scenario setting saved inside LaunchGuard. To open a previous backup, select Choose Backup File and select the LaunchGuard JSON file. Remember that restoring a backup replaces the projects currently stored in the browser. If you want to keep those projects, download a new backup before restoring another file. Along with the HTML application, the complete LaunchGuard package includes several supporting resources. The spreadsheet edition can be used in Excel or uploaded to Google Sheets. The supplier comparison worksheet helps you compare up to 5 suppliers using landed cost, deposits, lead times, payment terms, communication, and quality confidence. The reorder cash calendar turns your inventory plan into dated milestones, so you can see when the reorder decision, supplier deposit, production, transit, and Amazon check-in may happen. The fee verification checklist helps you document the source and date of the Amazon fees used in each project. There's also a Notion workspace for organizing product ideas, research, supporting evidence, and launch decisions. The package includes printable A4 and US letter documents, a quick start guide, and example go, caution, and stop projects. You can use the format that best fits your workflow or combine them as part of the same product research process. And that's the complete LaunchGuard system. The basic workflow is simple. Enter your product numbers. Verify the supplier and marketplace costs. Stress test the assumptions. Check the inventory and reorder cash timing. Then review the final verdict before placing the order. LaunchGuard is an estimation and planning tool. It isn't financial, tax, or legal advice, and it can't guarantee how a product will perform. Amazon fees, taxes, duties, freight prices, advertising results, and sales can all change. Before committing capital, always verify your final numbers using current Amazon calculators, supplier quotations, and qualified professional sources. Thanks for watching, and thank you for choosing LaunchGuard. Know before you order, protect your capital, and launch smarter.